Welcome to School's Out 80s Comedy Story Time.
Welcome to School's Out 80s Comedy Story Time. Got a really awesome show for you today. Coming to you all the way from Marshall, Texas, Megan Holt. Say hello to our audience.
Hi, everybody.
Awesome. And coming back to us, my co-host today, and always, say hello, Don Sroka Morris.
Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great day.
Okay, and again, it's School's Out 80s Comedy Story Time. I am John Sales Warrior. We got Megan here. Megan is going to tell some very, very funny stories, maybe from high school, maybe from college. We're going to be all over the place, I'm sure, today. It's going to be a ton of fun. But, too, we're just here to make you all laugh and hopefully bring some joy to your life. And Megan, too, is going to bring you some special things along with Dawn, hopefully to help you with your health. And laughing is really good for your health. But Megan, I'll be quiet. Tell us some funny stories from high school or college.
Oh, goodness. All right. So I think one of the funniest things that has ever happened to me was at a pep rally when I was in high school. And I was in high school in the 90s, people. So my mom grew up in the 60s. And all through my childhood, of course, I was nothing but country and rodeo, all the way to Metallica and mosh pits, if you can imagine. So we were really big. Well, our football team I thought was the best, right, in high school. And we were at a pep rally, and all of a sudden they had remixed In Sync with Metallica's what was it? I'm sorry, not Metallica. AC/DC's Back in Black. Yeah. So if you can imagine this In Sync song singing to that beat, and we didn't know it. That was the thing. We were dancing for the pep rally. We didn't know it. And so the minute that they remixed, so all of us here, so a huge mosh pit started. People got trampled. Of course, the principal was yelling at everybody, but the football team won that day. So they thought it was the funniest thing in the whole wide world. Then we always had to play NSYNC and AC/DC together all the way through high school. Happened every time.
Nice.
But, yeah, it was hilarious.
Love me some AC/DC.
I do too.
Man. I learned how to drive a car with AC/DC always playing because my uncle loved AC/DC, and he would be like, you want to go driving? I didn't have a permit granted or a license or any of this, you know what I mean? But we were in some small town out in the country type area. I come from a town like that too, where it's just a lot of country folk, and he was like, you want to drive? Hell yeah, I'll drive. Get me behind the car. You know what I mean? And we would drive, and he'd be blaring AC/DC in the background and stuff like that, and so I grew up around that, era music.
The very first time, I'll never forget the first time that I drove. Well, of course, we drove tractors and four-wheelers and all that kind of stuff. But the very first time I drove was all the way from my house, which is out in the middle of nowhere in, Harrison County, all the way to a little town called Elysian Fields to drop my mom off at work and drive back. I was 9. I was 9, people. That's the kind of life that we grew up with. Right?
You were 9?
I was
were you driving a tractor, or were you driving a truck?
I was driving a little two-door. What was that car? I don't even know. It looked like a box. So it was a little two-door light blue car that my mom had. Yeah, I was 9, and she was like, just follow the road all the way back, because my dad had to have the car that day, and we only had one car. So yeah, I was 9. So
9? How did you even touch the pedals?
I'm telling you, the car was tiny. It was like a freaking Matchbox car.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, my mom was a trip. She really was. She was absolutely like one of the best people in the whole wide world. So I grew up not only with a lot of funny stories, but I think one of the best things ever was like the charisma that's like ingrained in all of us. I don't know if I know everybody doesn't come from a little small town and they're able to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
But like when you do, I mean, like if you can just think about it, like having that kind of trust and empowerment, right? When you're that young and then growing up in this world, like we're meant to be and do great things. Like that's super cool.
Yeah. I was actually just talking to my daughter yesterday. We were out, running around and, at the mall and stuff. And we went to that Earthbound store or whatever. And they had like, t-shirts and stuff. And another store we went to had some other t-shirts with like Pink Floyd and all of this on there. And I went to Partial High School in the 80s in the early 90s too. So I'm more of a 90s cat than an 80s, So when you were talking about what NSYNC was that? Yeah. Oh, I have them on my playlist, and I have AC/DC too. So it's like, but anyway, we were talking about that. We had walked past and we had seen some of the vinyl records they're coming back. There was actual store in the mall that is just only dedicated to the vinyl record players and the vinyl records. They had them all displayed. It was took you back to the days when you would go into these and buy cassette tapes and stuff, right? And 8 tracks, I can remember then even having, I remember putting an 8 track in one of my dad's old cars because when he was young at that time, when I was born, my parents were teenagers, practically like in their late teens. And so he had like all the old Camaros and all these old cars. But I remember specifically putting in an 8 track in car. I mean, it's very, very back there, but
yeah, that's hilarious because I remember my uncle actually had an old T-Bird and it had an 8 track player.
We had one of those. Yeah.
And so I can remember putting it in, and then like my brother's 5 years younger than I am, right?
Oh, Lord.
And so when he was little, like my mom had every cassette tape you could ever imagine. I mean, it had the boxes, where they all fit in and slid under the seat. I mean, just like jamming. We thought we were like the coolest cats ever. Right. I can remember him grabbing that 8 track tape and looking at it and I mean, just being utterly confused, right? Wow. I mean, just like utterly confused. And he went to go, he's maybe 3 or 4, but he's like looking at it. And he's like, Mama, is this a Nintendo game or what is this?
And that's kind of what they look like, right?
They did, right?
That's
and
funny.
So she was explaining it to him and everything, but I will never forget like just the look of utter confusion on his face. Like, how did you do this? Yeah, it was great.
And that's what we were kind of talking about, how vintage is coming back because they're like, she's 16. She just turned 16 in October, and we're walking and stuff, and we're looking at this stuff, and she's just like, before we actually happened to come across the record store, which is, crazy. She was just like, hey, Mom, like, I really wish that I grew up in the 80s and 90s. She was like, especially the 80s, because she's like, everybody's talking about the 80s and 90s, how they were the greatest years ever. Everybody thinks they have the greatest years, of course, throughout time. But they, coming from a perspective of being their age, looking backward, having more history than we had at that time, I honestly believe that this is one time in history where they are actually looking back to learn the cool shit, not just like what we avoid. They're like, oh my God. Like, she's like, I would love to have a flip phone just to know that I have to type that into text and everything. It's like, from what I gathered from what she said, is that it's almost overwhelming to have too much of goodness, of that ease, that they want to interact more with objects and things. They don't want to just say, I speak into stuff and I don't have to answer stuff. I want the physical connection.
Right.
And that's where
I can see that so much. Not only like,
wow, that's wild.
I mean, it's crazy, right? Because like, I know when I was growing up, I would literally just sit and beg and pray, like, please let me be, 19 in 1969. Like, that's where I wanted to be. And, but it's so neat to me now to see kids wanting to strip away all of the excess, wanting to strip away all of the, because it overwhelms their nervous system. I mean, seriously, to God, overwhelms our nervous system. And they, when our bodies and our brains and like our human doesn't have some type of a challenge. Now, I'm not talking about like, trauma or over like that kind of thing, but like challenging
challenge.
Challenging your mind to do something, to learn something. When you don't have that, you get bored. And what happens with boredom? I mean, well, we've seen it. We've seen the news. We see what happens with boredom, right? So I think that it is so cool that kids and young teenagers and even young people and even people in their early 20s are wanting that simplification in all of, I guess you would say, instead of like, oh my God, you mean that they didn't even have a phone then? It's like, no, man, like bring payphones back so I can actually go and do something.
And it's not that I don't appreciate, or people I don't think appreciate everything that has been given to us, all of these new inventions and stuff. It's not that we don't appreciate it, but I think the point of it is that it's not that you don't appreciate it, it's that things, even great things, can ruin things. If not that it's too great, it's that you don't know how to incorporate certain things into your daily life or lives that aren't going to negatively affect you. Like, shoot, I mean, you can be in love with somebody and you spend too much time with that person, it could ruin the relationship.
And you want to strangle them.
So you have to do things in moderation at the same time. So, but I really believe that going through there, it's nice to see that their brains are operating in that manner, that they're grabbing a hold of that, saying, you know what, maybe too much of this is not good, to where I think that they're going to be the generation, this upcoming, kids that are heading into their late teens and stuff, they're going to be the generation that's going to take a mixture of what's happening right now and knowing that, and they're going to mix it. And I think it's going to have a really great output of what we can see here in maybe the next 15, 20 years, because they are very intelligent kids. I mean, I think people underestimate the kids because they think they're too coddled, or that we just don't give them anything to do. But I think that, we as people ended up feeling like, growing up in 80s and 90s and stuff and 70s, oh, your parents used to be very hard on you. I hear these stories. Oh, I got whipped. If you didn't get with the whip with the belt, then you're not doing it right, or something like that. I think what happened is that the discipline not discipline, but just we were almost too strict in a sense. So our parents, not me particularly, but my parents and stuff, I think they were too strict. It got to a point where parents were like, I don't want to be like that. So they went too far to the opposite spectrum. And so we have a lot of kids out there that just have not been taught right. Not that they're bad, it's just that they're not been taught right. I'm not saying there aren't bad, there are, the majority of it, right?
Yeah.
And we got to learn to pull that back in.
And I completely agree with that, in the stereotypical way of thinking that everyone in any decade or generation has been raised in. And the one thing that I'm, I guess, so proud of, I'm so overjoyed for, in even just hearing that story from you and seeing it evolve through, younger people, is the missing piece to just about every thing that we're like, oh, that's too much, oh, that's not enough, is the communication piece.
Exactly.
Our children are now not only like I have a 2.5-year-old, and she teaches me something every day.
Right.
They're not only teaching us, but they're pulling what we didn't maybe see, and giving it back to us in a way that we can now communicate with them.
And isn't that what we want? I mean,
and that's exactly what we've all wanted.
People sometimes are complaining about the very one thing that you're asking for. You're saying, hey, you know, we need you to step up because you're the future generation. But at the same time, it's like you're not giving them the respect to say, you know what, let's wait and see this out. Let's wait and see this out. Let's just go bash them, you know, on how they're behaving. And right.
Hey guys, real quick, Megan. So you're driving a car at age 9. Yes. So you took your mom to work?
I did. I drove my mom to work. She was at that particular time, she was in the oil and gas field. So she ran all kinds of oil and gas wells on the production side. And I drove her all the way through Elysian Fields into DeBerry to work, and then followed our back road home.
God love you. Did you get home and make your own breakfast and turn the stove on?
I sure did. Awesome. Yeah, that was me.
I like it.
Yeah.
So real quick, because we were talking about parents and discipline and things like that. So Megan, can you tell us, like, you know, what was the worst punishment you ever got? Like, in school?
Oh goodness. You know, I think that might be a question better for my brother. He was the one that got the whippings, because oh Lord, if he didn't wake up with a whipping, he went to bed with one. He needed it so bad. For me, however, mine was the silent treatment. My mama knew me more than you might say you know your child now. And if I had done something to where she was like she knew, like, to whip me would almost be too much, you know, it's like too much. But she would be silent for more than 5 minutes, and I'd be in her face like, okay, what did I do wrong? Like, you got to tell me, like, what's going on? And you know, it kind of did become a game in a way, because my mom was really open and that kind of stuff. However, one of the worst punishments I think I ever got was I got my Sega Genesis taken away for a week.
Oh my God.
Oh, no, not the Sega.
A week. I got it taken away for a week. It was terrible. Oh, it was awful.
What I do with my boys, because like we had to discipline them over the years with the video games and such. And so what I would do is I would take the electrical cord away from their whatever video gaming system they had, and I would just put it in my car and go to work, and they would be so pissed.
Yeah.
And so just distraught. I had a friend of mine, he took his kid did something, and he took the whole thing over to GameStop and sold it to him.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Everything, and just sold it to him. He's like, you're not cutting grades or whatever. You're done.
Wow, that was harsh.
In the room and not get
very harsh.
Yeah, that was harsh.
So you know, one of the worst things. Yeah, go ahead, Don.
I was going to say, it's funny because it's like we all have different forms of punishment as you grow up. Mine was, you know, like you just have to go in time out, or not time out, like you get grounded or something, right? You know? Yeah. And it's like nowadays, it's like when I haven't had to do it with my daughter, but my boys, I have had 2 older boys, you know, now that are in their, you know, early 20s or whatever. But my punishment for them was turning off the internet.
Oh man.
Oh, you talk about some kids getting some stuff done fast and you needed it. Oh man.
Right.
Yeah, it was like, just turn that internet off. Like, or take their phone away. Like when I take my daughter's phone away, next thing you know, we're hanging out. She's watching movies with me. And it's like, so I actually do that, not as a punishment, but I will make them detox from social media and stuff. I will make them put their stuff away for a day or 2 at a time and just enjoy time with me. And then I'd let them go back, and I'm trying to teach them, and everything is good when you know, ration it.
I think that, I think that is one of the best things that I have ever heard in my entire life, because we do get so inundated with everything around us that, you know, and just like you said, it's not as a punishment. Like you've talked to your
No.
children, you tell them what's going on,
Right.
and and have and probably even have some sort of schedule. Like, hey,
Yeah,
look, it's
right, we do.
detox day. Absolutely love that. Like if you, I mean, I know that your listeners probably won't be able to see what's on my face, but y'all guys can. And I have on what's called, like, I'm huge into the biohacking world, right? And anything that can holistically improve your body. What I have on right now are blue light glasses. If you're anytime that I'm watching or doing something on a screen, I have ones for the computer, I have ones for the, at nighttime. And it's because our entire world is so inundated that if we don't have that detox period, if you're not teaching your children and yourself, and right now I'm trying to teach my grandparents that have been watching news since they were, I don't know, since TV came out.
Yeah, my parents,
right?
or my dad.
And so if you don't have that detox period, you wonder why your body hurts. You wonder why you have brain fog. You wonder why you're having maybe bowel issues or sleep issues or breathing issues. It's because everything is energy, and it goes into your body every day, all day, any day. So I love that, Dawn. I think that is the best thing that you could possibly do for your children and yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. And then next thing you know, we're playing board games, and that was one of the greatest things. I love the fact, I think a lot of board games really started coming back out when we were younger. You know what I mean? I mean, more than any time before that, and now it's like you go and you see these shelves full of board games, and I love that. I love, because I'm like, okay, that's a sign that people interact with their kids and adults and stuff. I mean, that's one of the greatest things that I love to do is play the games. I mean, back then it was like charades, but hey, anything.
Trivial Pursuit was ours, man. My mom. Oh man, my mom could get all the pie pieces quick. I mean, quick. I'm like, how in the world do you do this, lady? But anyway, Trivial Pursuit was ours for sure. And I love board games. Puzzles and board games were the things, and coloring books. Those were all the things that we did.
Puzzles are awesome.
And it's so funny. Like, I'll never forget when I first got a cell phone. I had a Nokia bar phone. And my mom or I, I was told, don't you ever use this phone unless it's for emergencies. And I remember one day I was calling somebody. My mom called me because I guess a bill had come in. And she called me and she was like, you have been calling. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's when they still gave you numbers printed out on your cell phone bill because you didn't ever use it. And I was like, no way. You did not know that I was there and that I called this person 3 times. There's no way. Yeah, there was a way. She got a printout. And
printouts back then, right? Hey,
like you would get printouts. Like, who gets mail anymore?
Now from Sprint. Holy crap, you got to go get a lawyer.
Right. I know, right? So funny.
Hey, real quick, Megan. So take us to college right now and tell us one of the funniest stories that happened to you and your girlfriends in college.
Oh, man. Oh, gosh. Can I think back that far? Yes. No. So I went to Texas A&M in Galveston. I was a marine biologist, and anybody that knows us Aggies know that we have our midnight yells. So before any football game or before any big celebration, we have what's called midnight yells. And I was a freshman in college, had never in my life, like I didn't know what you were supposed to do. And all these people come running out, hollering, and I can do that now. You cannot do that when you're a freshman, by the way. And so I didn't know that. So this isn't maybe one of the funniest, but this might be one of the most embarrassing. So before you get your Aggie ring, you're not allowed to do certain things as a certain classman. I will never forget. I walked out of the gymnasium and I stepped on the grass and I was tackled. I'm not kidding you. I was freaking tackled because until you have your Aggie ring, you're not allowed to walk on the grass. You haven't paid your dues, right?
That's why they tackled you?
And I was like,
Wow.
no way.
How
Like,
could they even tell you had your Aggie ring or not? They just knew you were a freshman, I guess.
I was like, it's just freaking grass. And so like, and it wasn't like it was like, done out of malice or anything like that.
Funny,
But like I had friends that had been going there since I think my sophomore year in high school. So they like ran and they literally like tackled me. You're not allowed on the grass. And I was like, dude, what is up with you? Like, have you been drinking? Something wrong with you? And so, so I learned really, really fast the do's and don'ts of a freshman when you go to A&M. But it was great. We had a huge laugh afterwards, ate pancakes. We were great.
Nice. Did you ever have to babysit any of your drunk friends?
Oh my God. Okay. If I tell this story and my friend Lori hears it, then she's going to come back with the one where she had to babysit me and like quite literally carry me like a baby into bed. But yes, 1000%. Anytime we would go out, it was somebody was either puking behind the car or getting carried like a baby into their dorm room. Every time.
Every time. Oh,
Every
okay.
time.
And they do like
somebody
with whoever got, it's always somebody different, right? It's always
you have to take turns. You always have to take turns.
Yeah.
That's funny. You guys know how to party. Wow.
Well, we did then. And like I said, thank God I'm in the world that I'm in now because if I was still living that life, I don't know if I'd be here.
Yeah, we're only going to go through that for a short period of time.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's nice to experience any and all things that you possibly can. And like the cool thing about the generation that's coming up now is that they do know how to care for their bodies and their minds and their brains, along with having actual fun. Like, I mean, I was in a place where you did things to hide things or you did things to cover up your emotions or and yes, you did do it for fun and that kind of stuff. However, the kids today, I think, have a much better grip on balance.
Yeah.
Okay, Megan, real quick, kind of along these lines, in a situation when you were in college, I imagine you had to save one of your girlfriends from some guy that she didn't want to be around. So kind of walk us through that.
Okay, well, this is a funny tactic, I guess, is what we used to do. So we had this club that we would go out to. It was like a small, because Galveston Island's super, super small, a lot like my hometown. And we would go out and they had a dance floor and everything. And so, all of us girls, we'd be dancing together and everything. And, at that time, like, let's see, what was out? So it was like Papa Roach and Eminem and all the rap music, right? And guys would come up behind you and they'd start dancing. So we had this like cue, like we could touch our nose and like, it would be like, okay, that one's okay. Or we'd like grab their hands and swing all the way around and get them away from that. I'll never forget this one person. I mean, would not get the hint. Like he just kept like following our circle, like all over the dance floor. And finally, I mean, it was like I was kind of maybe in a Kung Fu movie, I guess. I never tell you, I mean, it wasn't that drastic, but it was like a Kung Fu movie because I was like, get away from me on all sides. So it was quite the hilarious, and then of course we left and we laughed about it. And for some reason, we always ate pancakes. I don't know why, but it was good. I think
the men are still like that. They still do that stuff to this day.
I think so too. Yeah.
Whenever you go out with your girlfriend out anywhere, you're always saving somebody.
Always.
I mean,
or like
a lingerer or stalker or whatever.
Yeah, it's so strange. Like, well, what is that? Well, I don't understand what that gene is. Like, let's just take that out. Like, no means no.
Hey, John, do you have a story from college like that?
With the girls?
Yeah, where you're like saving one of your girlfriends.
Usually I was the one that was having to be saved because they were. I was saved many times. Like, well, oh my God, yeah, like same kind of scenario, where you're literally walking around, places. And so there was one. I had to save myself. Sometimes they just will not take no, you know what I mean? But yeah, usually I was the one having to be saved from me. I'm kind of rude in a way though, where when I'm with my girlfriends, I guess. And yeah, I guess there was one time I remember I was with my friend and this guy was pursuing her heavy kind of, and she was like, no. And I think we were a little tipsy or whatever. And when you're drinking, they kind of get a little bit more liquid courage in them. So they were kind of coming on a little too strong. And I was just like, put my hand up. It's like, go and get the hell away from us now. Like, she does not like you. It's over. Go away.
Yeah.
And he left with his tail between his legs after that. But I was like, so I don't like, I'm more just kind of abrupt, like, go.
Yeah. I'm like that as well. And so, I'm like, look, just get the hell away from me, dude.
Yeah,
but you have those really, really nice people and they're like, but and I'm like, no, like I'm really serious right now. I do not want to cuss on your
Well, you know what? I have a thing about people's, and it's not about the person per se. I just don't want you in my energy space.
I don't want you in my space. Like I don't
want you in my space, my bubble.
Exactly. And I have a bubble.
2 feet. I have like 10 feet. Get the hell away.
Yeah. Exactly.
At least 5 feet. Come on.
Oh, goodness.
So I got a really quick story. A buddy of mine was being just horrible inside. And his wife had told me at some point I had to get him home. And so my buddy was just so drunk and everything. So what I did was I just went up to the bouncer and I'm like, you see this guy right here? And I pointed to my buddy and I'm like, bounce him out of the bar. It's like the perfect way to get him out of the bar.
Get his ass out now.
Yeah. I'm like, see this guy right here? He's really drunk. It's his birthday. His wife.
Your friend.
And so the bouncer goes up to him and says, sir, I need you to come here. And, he's drunk. So he's being like a little like in his face. But, the bouncers are huge. And so anyway, we get outside. He has no idea I did this to him. He high fives me. He's like, I got bounced out of the bar, man.
Oh, my God.
Like, yeah, you did, dude. Let's go home, man.
That's hilarious.
And you're probably like, yes.
Right.
Yeah, you got to do it. Sometimes you got to have. He was falling down in the bar, like he was out dancing with the girl, and there wasn't any beer even on the dance floor, and he was falling down. I'm like, I got to get this.
Yeah, he needed to go home for sure.
Yeah, he needed it. He needed to go home for sure.
And it was his birthday, and I didn't want to buy him any more tequila.
Okay, so that reminds me of this funny story of when I was up. Okay, I go up north and visit family every once in a while, because that's where I'm from. And I was up there, several years ago, and we went out with a bunch of us friends and stuff like that. And I look over and my friend's girlfriend is sitting in a chair, okay, in the bar. And literally, she's like sitting down, her hair's all fluffed over.
Oh, gosh.
She has really long hair, like double the length of my hair, right? And she's just kind of sitting with her head like this between her legs, and her hair's dangling on the floor. And I'm over here having a good time. I don't want to mess with that. You know what I mean? So I was like telling him, like, dude, like, your girl, her hair, people are stepping on it, and like, take her home. And he was like, hell no, I'm not done partying. She shouldn't have got that drunk. And I was like, oh my God. And then people stepping on her. I went over there and I grabbed her and walked her over to the booth and put her in a booth. I was like, at least move her. Shit.
Yeah.
So I picked her up. I moved her over there, and then we went back to partying, and then we cleaned her up when we were leaving to go to another bar. She ended up being in the car the rest of the night. But it was like 2 things from that. She was like, well, thank you for helping me. One of all, my old man just left you there in the middle of the bar with like that messed up. And I was like, but the thing is, it's like, dude, don't get that drunk. Like,
yeah, like, I have been that drunk before. I don't drink anymore, but I have been that way before. And I know for a fact, I know for a fact if some of my friends were telling my stories, I'd be like, oh God, oh no, I don't even know any more of those.
Everybody's got stories about us.
But yeah, right. Like I have been that person. I have been that person one time, and I have seen that person one time too many, I do believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a really hilarious story, and then we're gonna cut to the end of this show. But so we're out doing the whole fraternity thing back in college, and just drinking up a storm. It was such a blast. And so we leave. It was like we were at a lake for the entire day, like 11 o'clock until like 5 o'clock. We had been at the lake, and so my friend that's now an attorney, by God. He was nowhere close to being that way when we were in college, and so we're in the car, and he's so like emotional, and he and we've been at the lake all day, so everybody's hair is like all jacked up. He grabs the rear view mirror off the thing, like grabs it, rips it off the guy's car, brings it up, and he looks at his hair, and he's like. And he's like, I hate my hair. My hair looks awful. And the window was open. He just takes this guy's mirror and whips it like into the woods as we're driving down the highway. Like we're driving down the highway like 70 miles an hour. He looks at it. He's like, and this guy's like a really respected attorney now in Kansas City.
Don't say his name.
I know. He's an attorney. The last thing I'm going to do is incriminate myself. It was funny though. But then we went to a pizza place, and he was so drunk while we were in the pizza place, he slept the entire time.
Now, I have to say, I have done that. After a night, I have slept in a many a booth. Many a booth where food was available.
So be it. So be it.
Yeah.
It just builds our character.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're not going to have any stories,
Right.
Life's for living.
Right. You got to have fun.
Okay. So this is the time of the show where we promote. Megan, I know you have a lot to tell people about what you do, and I definitely don't want to take your thunder. So I'm going to let you tell everybody what you do and how to contact you. But Megan, go ahead. Tell everybody what you do.
Oh, awesome. Hi. Well, thank you, John, for having me this morning. And I'm a holistic wellness coach. And what that means is I look at the whole body, and from the environment in which you live in all the way down to the frequency of your cells. And we make, I do everything from meal planning all the way to frequency healing and everything in between, really diving deep into the trust between the conscious and the unconscious mind in order to get to those root causes that cause some of those stories that we hold on to in our body to let go so we can really live the most optimal life that is for us. And I do that through modalities of Reiki, energy healing, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, and neuro-linguistic programming. And with all of that, and the best place to find me really is on Instagram, and that is at meg.holistic.coach. And I know John will have all of that for you in the show notes as well.
Absolutely.
And I would love to talk to anyone and everyone that is having any kind of problems. I help everyone from CEOs of companies to, get their performance up all the way down to single moms and stay-at-home moms with toddlers that don't know how to meal prep. So, yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Dawn, go ahead. Tell us what you do.
Right now, I am currently running and owning a mortgage loan processing company, and I actually just finished all my real estate classes, so I will be taking the exam here soon to get my real estate license. I also do, like counseling with people for fitness and nutrition and things like that. I'm not into, haven't ventured into the holistic part of it, all over, but I do preach that, that's one of the things that I do. The basis of everything that you do for your health is based on you as a whole when it comes to not only your mind, the physical, your environment, your energies, everything that you pull in, so that I have a lot of people that come to me, for stuff like that. It's been amazing talking with you about that, Megan, and stuff like that, because I believe that, a lot of people can benefit from that. So do urge all you viewers here today that are watching this to look into what it is that she has, that she offers and stuff, because it can be a game changer, a life changer, because the basis of everything that we do is based on our wholeness of what we represent to the world. And that's one thing that I do, is I like to inspire people, encourage people, and things like that. I don't, no more or less put myself in the category of being a motivational person or speaker or anything like that. I believe those aspects of it are great, because people do need to have to learn how to be motivated. But the thing is that if you teach somebody how to tap into everything, then they don't need that motivation, because they're already going to be motivated. So I believe in helping people, and that's the biggest thing I want to do. And I'm trying to venture out of the mortgage industry. I'm going to keep it in the real estate. I really want to get into the real estate heavy, but 50%, I guess, of my of what I do and what I want to focus on is helping people, and that can come in different, versions of that. But yeah, so I have a website, that will be linked, or you can find it through my signature line and stuff like that. If you ever want to contact me for anything in regards to that, I do have, a way that you can schedule times with me. But again, like I said, Megan, it was amazing talking with you today. And I know that you have a lot to offer people out there. I really believe that you're making huge changes with what you're doing. And I commend you for that. And I'm really, feel honored to spend some time with you today.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and promote what I do just real quick. So you see my name is John Sales Warrior. And really, I've just been putting myself out there for the unmotivated, for the people that are in despair, for the people that have to make a living doing sales. I teach people to professionally sell. I've been professionally selling for 31 years, very successfully. It's really easy to garner my wisdom. I made it as easy as possible. I have a book on Amazon. It's called Sales Warrior. I have a course on Teachable. It's called Sales Warrior Module 1. I'll also have another course on Teachable. It's called Sales Warrior Module 1 Startup. One is $400. The other is $99. You can upgrade from the $99 to the $400. I'll actually give you the whole $100 back to upgrade to the $400 course. But, quite simply, getting a hold of me is easy on LinkedIn. You just, John Sales Warrior is my LinkedIn, and my website is saleswarriorinspire.com. But Megan, awesome having you on the show.
Yes,
Dawn, always good to hear from you.
Yes.
Thanks, John.
I think we'll go ahead and sign out. So Megan, go ahead and say goodbye to our listening audience.
Bye, everyone. Had fun. Hope you had some laughs. See you later.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Megan.
Yes,
Dawn.
All right. Bye, everyone. It was nice chatting with everybody today. Hope you guys take away some great stuff from this commentary, and look forward to seeing you next time. Until then,
Absolutely.
take care.
Awesome. Awesome, Don. And from Dallas, Texas, cheers, everybody.